friends and brothers. This is Dennis with Masonic Improvement and joined with my co host, Justin Jones, and one of our frequent visitors of the podcast, Robert Park. And Robert is a close friend of both of ours and chairman of the board of the San Antonio Valley Scottish Rite, and has served on the Civil Law Committee for many years, and really just worked a lot behind the scenes for Freemasonry, and that's why we have him here, because he's our resident expert on.
We'll see.
Right.
So the goal tonight is to go over the resolutions that were was it today? Did it just come out today? Like they were just
Yes.
literally released.
Yep.
And most brothers haven't even had a chance to really look them over. So we're hitting it while it's hot off the press, and we're going to talk about them, and hopefully we'll knock them all out because they all seem pretty straightforward, even though there's a lot of them. And so we'll just see how far we get, right?
Agreed.
That works.
So if y'all are okay with it, I created summaries of these, and if you feel like the summary is inaccurate, by all means we'll correct that, and for the audience and everything. But I think they're pretty spot on. So whenever you're ready,
yeah, if you're gonna do the summary, if you want to use AI to do summaries and post it online as if it's your own, I get it. Don't ask me to agree with it. But
Okay.
no, just kidding. I had a couple people tell me today, oh man, I had AI do a summary so that I could get it. It's like, dude, you missed that one and this one. That's not that wasn't the intent. You need to go back and read it. So go ahead. I'm sure
like I
you
said,
got it right.
If I'm off, just tell me, and we'll. So proposed
just rising
resolution number 1 is in regards to background checks on petitioners and suspended Masons.
Well, you forgot the carryover.
You want to go?
Holdover resolution?
You'll hit
You got to
that.
do
Okay.
that. Yes.
Okay. So holdover resolution number 24 is in regards to suspension of Grand Masters. This resolution amends Article 36 to establish a specific formal procedure for the suspension and removal of the Grand Master. It grants the remaining Grand Trustees the power to unanimously suspend the Grand Master in emergency situations which could negatively affect the craft. If a suspension occurs, the Deputy Grand Master must call a special communication of the Grand Lodge within 60 days to hold a hearing, where a 2/3 majority vote of the lodges and members present is required to remove the Grand Master from office. Does that sound about right?
That is correct.
Yes. And I pretty much agree with this. It's one of those things that in today's day and age, back in the day when we had communications in the form of horseback, it might not have been a good idea to do that, because you would never get that, within that time frame to get your votes and all that kind of good stuff. But today's day and age, if you've got a matter that's pressing to the point that there needs to be a special session, then there needs to be a special session.
Yep.
It shouldn't be shouldn't just be the trustees that decide everybody's fate.
Here's my thing. If you're gonna, I agree with this one. We have 6 trustees. If 5 have decided that the Grand Master needs to be removed, there's probably something going on. My only caveat with this, that I think we talked about last time with this one, is let's say the trustees remove the Grand Master, and there is a grand session set for 60 days to have a hearing on this and vote. And it's voted that the Grand Master can be reinstated. He's innocent. He goes back in as Grand Master. There's nothing in here that says they can't immediately turn around and do it again. So, let's say you have a situation where, something's going on and those 5 guys are against that one guy, the Grand Master, and the Grand West says, no, he's innocent. It gets reinstalled. They could just yank him again and do another one 60 days later.
That's a fair point.
My thing would be, if we're going to do this, we have to say if the Grand West says he's innocent, they cannot do that again for the remainder of his tenure.
Of that offense.
That's my thing. I think this is a good idea, but it can be played just like anything. And I would just say that if the Grand West clears him, you get one shot at this, guys. If you're going to remove the Grand Master, you got one shot. If the Grand West says no way, you ain't doing it again. That's my opinion.
Well, our Grand Lodge would never abuse something like that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I think that's fair. With as many whereases as we have in our resolutions, they can put as many whereases if they're going to want to remove somebody to prove their case that that person really needs to be removed. And it's not just some kind of vendetta or whatever. So I agree. I think that,
Mhm.
doing it the full year, um, removing the option of refiling for the full year, that's fair.
Personally, I agree with you. I feel like this may be one of those things where we push it through, and if it passes, we amend it somewhere. Me personally, like, but I
I do
think,
think it needs to pass in some form. This needs to pass. I do want the trustees to have that authority. But there's again, I can just see it. If I can see it being used potentially in a way it was not intended to, unless you kind of put some
Yes,
yeah,
guardrails on there.
yeah,
agreed.
it's always a good idea to have, yeah, something to protect. I agree with that.
Yeah, because when the bad thing is though, when you start going back and forth and in legality, sometimes people hold people to standards to the letter of the law that they wouldn't hold themselves. And is that really fair to do that just to try to you know crap on somebody else's lifetime of achievement, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Oh, we've had this conversation on here before that we should be trying to get to the spirit of the laws here, not the letter.
Yes. Yes, which is the exact reason we have you on here. So go ahead, Justin. Go ahead with number one.
All right, we'll start over number one now. All right, so like I said, this is about background checks on petitioners and suspended Masons. This resolution adds Article 401 to mandate a background check for all petitioners seeking the degrees in Freemasonry and for any Masons seeking reinstatement after a suspension of 3 years or more. The check is to be conducted through the Grandview membership portal via a third party vendor, with the expense being borne by the petitioner, not the lodge. My
I
thing was,
concur.
yeah, and my hang up always was that it was brought up. I think the big contention was, well, the lodge shouldn't be doing background checks. And it's like, well, why is this? Yeah, that's fine. Just make them do the background check and pay for it and bring it in. Like, here's the paperwork for my background check, or email it. But this is fine. Like you said, it needs to happen. We need to have background checks on people. So whatever we got to do, whatever way we need to do it, I think it's for the best.
I
Yeah, and
don't.
one of the reasons why we were so iffy about this in the past, from what I've seen, was that there were members of lodges who might be peace officers or otherwise have access to ways of running background checks that were doing that, which is not okay. If you're running someone like through that system without their consent or without like a reason, that can be very problematic. But if
Mhm.
you're using like again, we should be doing this. There's a lot of sites out there that you can use for this now. It's completely legal. I have no problem with this. I think Right Worshipful Duty proposed this one, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, this one's fine with me. I think this should happen. We need to know about people coming in. We always talk about guarding the West Gate.
Yeah.
Like this is the easiest way to do that in the beginning.
Man,
I think in all honesty, I believe that maybe we ought to. It should definitely be the lodge that orders it. They just tell the person to give them the money, whatever the cost is for the lodge, because you don't want anyone to. If you got somebody that has a record, they have the potential is there with today's technology to alter that record. So you want to get it through the secretary to make sure that that's a secured
it's the same
run.
reason colleges only accept your official transcripts in a sealed letter directly from the other college, because they don't want you tampering and say you got credits for something you didn't take. It's the exact
Yeah.
same reasoning. So that's why
Yeah,
you got to do it. You got to get it from the source, not just from their, not just take their word on it.
yeah. For today, that should be the thing. And I agree. And yeah, yeah. And there's a difference between what somebody like Aaron Tazinski could run and what I could run. I can assure you, there's a difference on what he would see on somebody and I would see. So this is good because it puts it to the lodge that it's your job to do it. So you're not having, you're not asking a buddy to run something they shouldn't run. I know Aaron would never do that, but I'm just saying it takes that away people feeling like they have to do it that way, where they can just run their own background check on a public site, um, through the DPS or whatever, but they have a public side that you can do it.
Well, you know how it goes, because there'll be a lodge and they'll be like, well, we have to do background checks, but we don't want to charge anybody any more than we have to. So, brother so and so is a peace officer. Why don't you just run his name real quick and see what you can tell us, just to save a few bucks? When really you have these clandestine lodges where people are paying thousands of dollars to join, but we're afraid to charge them $100 to petition. So yeah, I think this
We
is the
don't
right
need
way
to start
go.
that conversation today.
That's the thing. I mean, this just has to be done the right way. This is another reason why everyone was worried about this. Just lodges not doing this the way they're supposed to do it. It's very easy. I mean, all you got to do, and there's tons of legal ways to do this. Just make sure that what they put in their petition is accurate and they're not lying on the petition. Make sure they don't have something on there that makes them ineligible to be a Mason. And if there's one of those two things, just say like, sorry, you're done. Like,
Yeah.
that it's very easy here. We're using this for a specific thing here. And again, if they do have something that, you know, needs discussion, you can have that discussion. But again, from everything that I've heard in the past, it's just there was worry that there'd be liability for using this information in an incorrect way. And I don't see that. I think most lodges are pretty smart with this stuff. And this is a pretty easy thing to do.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Agreed.
I agree that it's easy. All right, you want to move on to number 2?
Yes, sir.
This is kind of interesting to me. So, proposed resolution number 2 is in regards to the Grand Lodge Assistance Fund. The resolution that repeals the provision, Article 163(8), that directs 25 cents of the per capita dues to the Grand Lodge Assistance Fund, effectively stopping this funding stream. Concurrently, it increases the amount of per capita directed to the Grand Lodge General Fund by 50 cents, partially offsetting the total increase.
Yeah.
And so this is coming from Right Worshipful Townsend, right? Our Grand Treasurer.
Yes.
Yes.
So the way I see it is all we're doing is we're taking a few pennies from here and putting it into here. And so it's not a big deal. There's a little bit of a reduction. However, there is like 15 cents that's being moved from one fund to the general fund.
Yeah.
That's what I saw, is that the 25 cents is no more, but they've increased, there's a 50-cent increase to Grand Lodge. Yeah. And from what the whereas clauses say, I don't have, for the listeners right now, I'm in Port Aransas. I do not have these resolutions in front of me because they're on my phone, but I'm using the phone for this. So I will say from memory, I think the whereas clauses said there's $2 million or so in the assistance fund.
Yeah.
And that I think Rick's point of view is that with our declining membership right now and with what the assistance fund has given out in the past, that amount of money will carry us pretty far as far as what's needed for the assistance fund, and that this will actually be more helpful for Grand Lodge to transfer this money and up it for Grand Lodge in general. I know Grand Lodge itself, not the library, museum, or any of the other orgs, but Grand Lodge itself is doing okay from a monetary standpoint. From everything that I've seen, we're pretty good for the next 5 years or so from our income. But again, if we can turn our membership around, that's another thing. But I haven't independently verified any of this stuff, but I know Rick, and I know he's a very smart guy, and he knows this stuff very well. So if Rick says this is something that needs to be done, normally I would just say, I agree.
Right.
So
I trust him the same way.
So yeah, you're right. So the Grand Lodge Assistance Fund has grown to over $2 million, and its investment income substantially exceeds the request for relief. Redirecting a portion of the per capita away from the overfunded assistance fund to the general fund will prevent or delay an overall increase in the total per capita dues at a time when dues are financially struggling. But yeah, so eliminating the dedicated per capita funding makes the assistance fund wholly reliant on investments returns, which some people may think is problematic, but given how we tend to invest pretty conservatively at the just in Freemasonry as a whole, I think if performance declines, it could be a problem, but I don't see that. It's probably at like a 70-30 or 60-40.
And to keep things in perspective, the Grand Lodge Assistance Fund is for assistance that's applied to. So there are not many people applying. In fact, the people who are in the charities groups committee, they're asking people to apply because they just haven't had people applying for assistance. And so it's sitting there building with not a whole lot of reduction or usage, and you really don't want that to happen in a charitable fund. You don't want that to continue to build without giving out a proportionate amount of money to how much is coming in or how much you have. That's just.
It would be really helpful if we could see what the assistance fund has been giving out over the past 5 or 10 years per annum. But I know the listeners probably like, well, that's why we're listening to this. You should.
Well, I did have a conversation. I don't know if it was last year or the year before with the committee, and we had talked about that, and I talked about helping with a resolution to try to get people to spend some money. But that's the only reason I know that is because for the past couple of years they've been trying to do some outreach to get people to utilize the fund. I mean, they're not just going to give it to anybody that asks, but they will give it to anybody that needs it. Like, let's say a widow needs a refrigerator or whatever. A widow needs help with something, like a ramp in her yard or whatever. They're going to do that. But it has to be applied to, and most lodges don't apply to it. And frankly, it's because a lot of lodges aren't
aware of it.
Well, not necessarily aware of it, but not necessarily aware of the widow's needs. And I think, and that's what we were talking about trying to promote was the needs of the widows. But anyways,
but I think, again, having known Right Worshipful Townsend for a number of years,
sound advice.
I've never seen him take a position that wasn't warranted before. So I must assume that he has very good reasons for this, and I will talk to him about that. But again, if his name is on it, usually I'm going to vote for it.
I agree. I feel the exact same way. Well, this next one, I don't know if I would vote for it with the name on this one. No, I think I will. Go ahead.
Resolution number 3 is in regards to review of Grand Lodge forms. It seems pretty straightforward. It changes the requirement for the review of Grand Lodge forms in Article 74B from a single annual review to a review conducted periodically or as may be necessary or appropriate.
And again, my opinion on this one is, the way it's drafted, I think it's unreasonable for the secretary's office to have to physically read through every form every year to see if something is in compliance. Unless there's been a change in the law, of course, those forms are going to be in compliance if they were the previous year. So the change to, making these changes if it's necessary, I don't see a problem with that. It just makes me laugh because, of course, this is coming from our grand secretary, and it looks like it's making his job easier, but this really is this is needed because I think that is ridiculous to make them review every form, even if the law hasn't changed on it.
I think it should be every year because I don't know how many people know this, but for the longest time, unbeknownst to us, the petition for Freemasonry was for the mysteries of Freemasonry, and that was on there for years. So we only just now caught that and took the mysteries off. Thankfully, we don't have the mysteries on our petition anymore. So it's very important we review these every year. Dennis is about to just lose it.
Well,
he's lying, folks. He's absolutely lying through his teeth. And you did. You just.
Your face matches your hat right now, man.
Yes, I was getting there pretty quick.
To be clear, I was being totally sarcastic. We don't need to do this every year. Just for anyone that wasn't like, sure, we don't need to do that.
And the way I think of it, just the way I wrap my head around this particular resolution is that, let's say at the beginning of the year, you're dealing with a problem with a resolution, or not a resolution, a form that somebody has filled out, whether it's correctly, incorrectly, whatever, but you're looking at this form thinking, why in the hell are we asking for this information? What can we do to streamline this? Well, now you have to wait till the end of the year. And so that thought may just get lost. And you may forget that we need this line item fixed in this form in the hundreds of forms that they're going through. And so being able to fix things as they apply, then that's a lot more efficient way to run a business.
Yep.
Yeah, agreed. Again, I don't see a problem with this one. I think this is just reasonable to me.
Yes, absolutely.
You joked about the grand secretary making his job easier, but I think he's in a position where things were done a certain way for a long time and people just accepted it the way they were. And he's forward thinking enough to realize that this is kind of redundant and unnecessary.
Dude, I'm a secretary and I'm going to tell you my job sucks. And it sucks because of all the old crap we're still having to deal with that we should have all electronic. We should have everything, already converted over. But because you have 3 secretaries out there that will not type on a typewriter or anything else, they have to physically write it with their hands. It ruins it for all of us. So, in my opinion, anything to make the secretary's job easier, local or grand.
Yeah.
I don't care.
The reason why I was laughing too is just, Brad has taken some heat for, basically he does a lot of remote work. The people he has does remote work, which I have no problem with. But I know there's been some issues with that. So when I read this resolution, I was like, okay, people might be like, oh, I see you're trying to do less work now.
Right.
I don't think that's
Exactly.
what this is.
No,
It's this mentality you have to be in an office to do your job, which is not the case anymore.
Not in today's world.
Yep.
Especially when you have a competent staff.
Yeah.
No, this is all about efficiency. That's all it is.
Ready for number 4?
Yep.
Waiting on you.
All right. Resolution number 4 is regards to lodge audit and charitable reporting. This resolution revises the requirements for lodge audits in Article 284 to require the auditing committee to be comprised of 3 qualified members who cannot be the sitting or immediate past marshal master, warden's treasurer, or secretary. It mandates the use of either a revised minimum audit form 71 or a substitute form designed to facilitate the transmission of financial records that meet IRS 990 reporting details. It also requires the maintenance of a lodge annual charitable report, which must be inspected by the district deputy grand master, and mandates uniform valuation for charitable volunteer time.
Now, question, was that proposed form attached? Because I did not see it.
I didn't either. It was not attached. We need to get a copy of it to see.
Yeah. What are you voting for? Yeah.
And this was Guy Anderson, right? If I
Guy
recall.
Anderson and Curtis Gilgan. Sorry if I mispronounced
Gilgan,
that.
yes.
Gilgan from Onion Creek. So Blanco Lodge at Onion Creek. I don't see an issue with the form itself, but what do y'all think about the charitable report being done by the district deputy?
Well, he just has to see it. It has to be available with the Form 71, which it should be.
So the
because
lodge
you're
has
reporting
that.
that.
Okay. I see.
Yes, you're reporting that. It should be with your forms.
See, again, I've had like less than 4 hours to kind of digest this, but I kind of agree with it's more work for the lodge to report all this stuff and have it available for the district deputy. But I think the point made by this resolution is that yes, a lot of our tax status is based on being a charitable entity, and we're supposed to be doing this stuff. And we're supposed to be keeping track of it. And a lot of lodges do not. And I know some of the lodges I'm a member of, like we hand out this stuff and like, keep track of your miles, keep track of what you're doing. Like make sure you turn this stuff in. It's not done. And that can be problematic. I've seen it happen in other lodges. And we're dealing with a lot of tax issues around the state with that. So I know the problems that can occur. So if that's what this is trying to solve, even if that puts some new requirements on a lodge, I think it's for a good reason, honestly.
And
yes,
to be clear, like I don't know any lodge. I don't personally know any lodge that's really on the ball with this, but you could take that volunteer time form and just put it by your sign-in sheet.
That's where ours is.
Yeah, and just like
you haven't asked me yet because that's what we.
Okay, but I think a lot of people are volunteering.
Both of the lodges that I'm secretary of.
That's smart.
But they ride the coattails of my mileage anyway. So I just split it between the two, and it's. But no, we keep track of all that for Masonic funerals, all that kind of stuff. We always tell everybody, okay, go sign in. Whatever you did, we went and delivered coats to the kids over from 189 the other day, and that all that mileage goes in, all the time goes in. It's all part of it, and that's important. Just to give perspective, when I have everything together for the Form 71 committee, I have a booklet with the Form 71 with all the supporting documents in that folder. It's a three ring binder with all the supporting documents, and then I have the minutes right next to it in another big 3 ring binder, so that it's right there for them to see anything they need, along with all the different all the different bank statements, financial statements from our investors, all that kind of stuff. So this is good housekeeping, guys. I know y'all agree. I'm just talking to the audience out there. This is good housekeeping. If you're doing all that other stuff, one little piece of paper is not going to hurt you for the year.
Agreed. Well, let's see. We're on number 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is in regards to permanent committee, establishing a permanent committee on audio visual. This resolution establishes a new permanent committee. This committee, consisting of at least 7 Master Masons with AV experience, would be responsible for planning, coordinating, and executing all audio and visual requirements for Grand Lodge events, such as annual communication, special sessions, educational broadcast, and for archival purposes.
And I believe this is Enderley, and it was Chuck Ivy on there too?
Yes, it's basically the committee, or the people who are not committee that should be committee.
Well, then that's my answer. If they say we need one, we need one.
Yes.
They would know.
I agree.
They would know. Might as well formalize it, right?
Yeah.
They're doing a great job. Like, what would be the problem with that?
Yeah. So if that's what they're saying, I'm voting for it.
Well, and it also forming a committee. So if there's no committee, then the committees have a 5 to 7 year stretch that you serve in a committee, and typically. So if there's no committee, you never get off the committee. So so they may be doing it the rest of their lives.
One of the reasons.
That's probably why they did it. I know I would be.
Opening the door to their eventual retirement. Right?
Yes. But anyways, I think it's good measure. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. All right. Number 6 is renaming the Internet Committee to Technology Committee. This resolution proposes a name change, exactly like I just said, from the Committee on the Internet to the Committee on Technology.
I'm fine with this. Is another Enderley one, right? I'm fine with this. If that
probably is.
Yeah.
Yes, and I agree. This is another good one.
Yep. I trust Craig's judgment on these things.
I trust Craig's judgment on damn near everything.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I meant.
There's not many people I would
emphasize these things, right?
Yeah, there's not many people I'd rather have in my court. I mean, this
it sounded kind of snotty on me. On these things, I guess he knows what he's doing. Sorry, Craig. Forgive me.
You peasant techie. Stick with your IT. Go back to your dungeon.
Number 7 is, see, like I said, like this is so basic. All this stuff is really short. Committee on photography. This resolution establishes an annual committee on photography to serve concurrently with the grand photographer. The committee will assist in the photographic documentation of official Grand Lodge events, preparation of photos for publication, and coordination of regional members to ensure comprehensive coverage across the state.
I mean, I'm fine with this. This is
I agree.
What I'm ambivalent about, but it is. I think one of those whereas clauses was like, having one photographer that has to go everywhere in the state. It is a lot, and a committee probably would be helpful on this. And honestly, I'm ambivalent. If they need a committee for photography, I'm more than happy to support that.
Yeah, sure.
You know what's interesting is I felt like they were listening to our show before, because we've spoke on this before. I totally agree with this. That you got this one guy and he's expected to be the photographer of all things. And then you've got all these other guys that aren't part of a committee and aren't bound to the duties of, what they're doing. So this will actually help create a uniform way that job is handled. And so I think that's a good idea.
That was actually one of the whereas clauses, whereas Dennis Yates has mentioned this before, and he's very wise.
He should have. It should have been there. If it wasn't, we'll amend
it. Do you feel cheated?
We should amend it, on the floor.
Okay. This is number 8 is a Jim Rumsey submission. Rat Rochelle Rumsey.
I think the next couple are Jim Rumsey
Yes, I think
resolution.
so too.
It's in a row. Okay. So number 8 is temporary committees and lodge petitions. This resolution entirely deletes Chapter 14, which is Grand Lodge temporary committees, and which has been largely eroded over the decades. It subsequently creates a new annual committee on petitions and returns of lodges. And this new committee's role will combine and standardize the review process for all charter positions, such as new, restored, or reconstituted, and ensure that those petitioning for a reconstituted lodge are held to the same standard as those petitioning for a new one. The new committee will also be tasked with following up with lodges that are delinquent and filing their annual returns.
Yeah, so I think we discussed this before we started the show.
Yeah.
This is one that I think arose because of some things that were shown when Centennial 500 in Austin was reconstituted, which, full disclosure, I'm a member of. But one of the things that came up that was interesting
Not for long now.
is that if you were a lodge under dispensation, there was a temporary committee that you had to meet all these requirements of, and there were some other things too if you were going to get your charter. If you were going to recharter a demised lodge, though, there was nothing there for that. Basically, the Grand Master could just say, yes, you are now a lodge. And I think that people look at that and say, well, why are these two things treated differently? Like, why aren't we doing all this for this scenario versus this scenario? And I think this is meant to close that loophole where, again, we're getting rid of the temporary committee on, lodges under dispensation. And now we're going to an actual 1-year tenure committee, like a real committee that will handle all of that, including lodges that are getting their charter from a demised lodge. So all of these will now be treated the same way, which I am perfectly fine with because I don't understand why they weren't in the first place.
Yeah,
I agree. And that's was the takeaway I had was the fact that it was a temporary committee that was assigned to a specific lodge dispensation thing. So let's say 3 weeks later, you get another one. Another group wants to form a new lodge or recharter a lodge, and another temporary committee would be in place. So none of them know what they're doing. They're going to have to learn this thing, and everything gets drawn out for no reason. When if you've got a committee that knows their job, they just know exactly what to do and exactly what forms are necessary, exactly what requirements are there. It just creates a uniformity that.
And as Right Worshipful Rumsey pointed out, we have, what did he say? We haven't had a lodge under dispensation in 14 years. But yet in the past decade, we've had quite a number of reconstituted lodges from demised lodges.
Yeah.
Like it's been quite a number of those. So, again, I agree with this. I think it makes sense to me.
Yeah. I see no harm in standardizing. I think that's good. Number 9, Committee on Communication Duties. This resolution amends Article 126G to delete the paragraph that charges the Committee on Communication with developing the guidelines, qualifications, and presentation materials for the Community Builder Award.
This just seems like housekeeping, like it's done. Yeah.
Yeah, I have that note. Like, there's no drawbacks. The task has been completed. It's not. I mean, what are you going to change on it? The work has been. It's been done. The work's done. Why do you need it anymore?
Yeah,
I concur.
All right, number 10. Man, that was the fastest Dennis ever concurred. Number 10 is the Grand Lodge Assistance Fund Committee. So this resolution amends Article 105 to remove the Committee on Grand Lodge Assistance Fund from the list of permanent committees, which in lieu of the other resolution, that makes sense to me.
Well, I think the issue is that it is a committee under our laws, but yet other parts of our law give the authority to the finance committee for handing out money under the assistance fund. Mm-hmm. So, and there has not been a committee on Grand Lodge Assistance Fund for quite a while. And so I think the point here is the finance committee handles this. Why do we have this other committee that does this? And if Right Worshipful Rumsey is listening to this and I'm butchering this, feel free to call me and scream at me, but I think.
Oh, he will. Don't worry. He will.
Say, don't worry about that.
We all know. We all know Jim, or I should say, Right Worship. We all know what will happen.
But I think that's the issue here is that committee is just, it's pointless because the authority is given to a different committee and we've never even staffed that committee in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, number 11. So, restored charter jurisdiction approval. This resolution amends Article 32B to require that a petition for the restoration of a demised lodge's charter must be approved by a majority of lodges holding concurrent jurisdiction, mirroring the requirement in Article 183 for new lodges. This requirement only applies if the restored lodge is located in a jurisdiction with 3 or more lodges.
Another Centennial Lodge resolution.
What are y'all doing out there?
Again, one of the other issues that came up when Centennial was reconstituted is that when you go through it in that manner, you don't have to get the buy-in of any of the lodges within that jurisdiction. And Austin's a pretty crowded jurisdiction. And none of those lodges had the ability to weigh in on a new lodge being formed within their territorial jurisdiction. And so this is basically, if you do this, if you reconstitute a demised lodge, you have to get the buy-in of the other lodges in the jurisdiction, which again, I have no problem with. That seems pretty reasonable to me.
I think so as well. I mean, in all reality, in most of these, not rural, in most of these suburban or not urban areas, let me use my words. In most of these urban areas, you've got a ton of lodges within 10 miles of each other. And, it makes absolutely no sense to reconstitute a lodge when you have 10 lodges in a 10-mile radius. That just doesn't make sense to me, because all you're doing is pulling members from each lodge to fill this new lodge. And unless there's a gross overcrowding of lodges, which I haven't seen in the past 13 years, then
now, in the defense of Centennial Lodge, I will say that lodge is a quarterly lodge that draws its membership from the entire state. And I will say that in most members we've initiated, I have to get waivers of jurisdiction because they're not from the area. So at least with Centennial, it is not pulling from the same pool.
Right.
But I understand the concern there, which is why I support this resolution.
Well, I think if you have several lodges in a district already, and I think if I wanted to like constitute a lodge or reconstitute or whatever route I wanted to go, if I was already in a lodge with a district like 5 lodges and all I wanted to do was the same thing every other lodge in the district was doing, of course not, absolutely not. Why do we need another lodge doing the same thing, pulling the same type of people? But if I was going to do a lodge, I was like, we're only going to do education and we're only going to meet quarterly. Or if I was going to do like a historical reenactment lodge or something that was unique and different, then maybe it has like some credit to that. But if we're just going to do the same thing and pull the same people, it's just a waste of everybody's time.
From my discussions with the other lodges in Austin, though, they agree, but they would have liked the opportunity to actually discuss this before it was done. I think that was the concern.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. It's like, we understand what you're doing, but we didn't even get a seat at the table. And
right.
Yeah, I get that.
And that's fair.
Should have some say. I agree.
Yeah.
Number 12 is about cornerstone inscriptions. This resolution amends Article 178 to create an exception to the prohibition on inscribing the name of the architect, engineer, contractor, or builder on a cornerstone. This exception permits such inscriptions if they are required by the regulations of a government building whose cornerstone the Grand Lodge is laying. I mean,
this doesn't this resolution also let the lodge itself, who's sponsoring it, put their lodge name?
Yes, that's what it's doing.
Yeah, I think if you have regulations that prevent you from being able to put a cornerstone when otherwise you would be able to do it, absolutely, you should be able to put things like that on there. I think cornerstones are very neat from a historical perspective.
Here's my issue with this, though. Lodges don't lay cornerstones. Grand Lodge.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Thank you.
I mean, that's what it is. This is cut and dry. The lodge itself, they might be paying for it, but they ain't laying it. Grand Lodge is laying the cornerstone. And so again, lodges shouldn't have their name on it because they are not the ones doing it.
Because lodges come and go. Grand Lodge is going to be there. Well, I agree, and and I don't want to make anybody feel bad about this. Whoever
I actually
wrote it,
I don't see where it
but
actually says the lodge name in that.
it does.
Because that's what I latched onto, is that the lodge could be
Exactly. That's
one of
exactly
the
what
Okay.
I did too. It is also permissible for the name of the sponsoring Masonic Lodge to be added after the Grand Lodge inscription in the form assisted by name and number of sponsoring lodge, i.e., assisted by Arlington Heights Masonic Lodge number 1184. So for me personally, I think that's a little, I
Oh,
don't know.
yeah, I see. Down and scroll down. Dude, I tell you, this is off topic a little bit, but it's the same thing. It's like they just built a bathroom in the local park, and there's a plaque now on the side of the bathroom with everybody from the city council and everybody that had any kind of vote to build
Oh
the
my
bathroom.
gosh.
It's the same. It's the same mentality. So if my lodge initiates this cornerstone, they want the name on it, and it's should we be doing it for that reason? No, of course not. But
Too
it's
bad
human
Ozzy has
nature.
passed away.
Why?
Don't you remember the big stink on him pissing on the Alamo?
Wow.
anyways,
That was okay. What are we on? 13?
Yep.
yes.
13. Okay. So 13 is standard of proof in disciplinary cases.
Is that 13?
No, I'm sorry. I went ahead too far. That's 15.
Minutes.
My bad. Um, oh, I don't have 13 for some reason.
13 is essentially digitizing the minutes of
Oh,
the
yeah.
lodges. That now it's permissible to digitize the minutes. And
Um,
But the reason why I think it wasn't specific for consolidated and demised lodges. It was basically that we're losing history because these minutes are basically crumbling into dust or being misplaced or put somewhere.
yeah,
And
in
yes,
so,
bolded.
yes,
Sorry.
that's what it is. You're absolutely right. Thank you for saying that part.
That
It's
all records of consolidated and demised lodges may be electronically digitized. That's what's in bold. So I guess that's what's being added there. I didn't mean to cut you off, Robert. I'm sorry.
I didn't realize that they couldn't.
I
well,
didn't either.
to the extent, yeah, see, I thought they could, but I'm supposed to know. I'm supposed to know the law, and I'm probably wrong on that. But I will say, to the extent they can't, I agree with this.
Yeah.
We've discussed this. We have so many lodges, like demised lodges or lodges that have consolidated their minutes. Who knows where they are? And that's the whole. We're losing Masonic history with that. And unless we want to put them, like find them and put them in a vault at Grand Lodge or something where no one can see them, I know we have to be careful with our minutes, and we have to make sure that they don't get out where they're not supposed to be. But we need to be digitizing these things.
Well, and we have a law on that already for
Yeah,
what it can be used for. And so this just backs it up that we can do it for the demised and consolidated.
There's
yeah.
a local lodge that I was a member of some time ago, and when I first joined, like it was crap everywhere. It was a mess, and we went to go clean up, just clean the place up, make it look nice, and I found boxes stacked under other boxes of. So what happened was this was kind of like a central town, so all these local small lodges merged with it over time from like these really small towns that don't exist anymore, and all their chapters of councils and everything. And they sat in these boxes in this dank, moist building. And so you pull out these old minutes, and they're covered in those little like the little silverfish and mold,
Mhm.
and they're rotten. They're lost forever. They're gone forever. You'll never get those
Yep.
back. And so like if I want to find out like who if my ancestor went to X lodge that merged with this town, we have no way of telling you. And so I get like there's like concerns, but we're talking about stuff in some cases. It's like 50 to 100 to 200 years ago. Like it's old enough. I think it should be okay either way.
I agree.
We lost your pretty face, Robert.
Sorry, I'm having to deal with. Again, I am in a condo in Puerto Rico with family, so give me 1 sec.
Sure thing.
No worries. We can move on to the next one because
Yep.
that's pretty cut and dry. I think it's silly to think that we ought not to. I think that
It's history lost if you don't.
all
Just put it
right.
in the box. All right. Number 14, accused brother notification. This resolution amends Article 518 to mandate that when a worshipful master approves allegations or specifications for a Masonic disciplinary violation, a copy of those documents must be formally served to the accused brother within 10 days. Absolutely.
Agreed,
Why would you not?
100%. And
Yep.
I think this is Lance, right? This is Lance Kennedy.
Yes.
Yep.
Lance and John Sizemore.
Yeah, I'm 100% behind this one because
Me too.
I've seen it where the accused, everyone knows what the allegations are except the accused, and he has never received a copy of it. It takes forever. Like this, I'm 100% behind this.
We've all seen what happens when it doesn't
Agreed.
happen. So yeah, it needs to be in place. I agree. I think we're all unanimous on that.
Bunch of tomfoolery.
A bunch of shenanigans. Whoever says shenanigans again is going to get pistol whipped. 15. Standard of proof in disciplinary cases. Wait, this resolution proposes to change the standard of proof for establishing guilt in a Masonic disciplinary violation from the recently adopted beyond a reasonable doubt by clear and convincing evidence back to the standard of a preponderance of the evidence.
I think what this one is doing is it used to be preponderance, then we made it beyond a reasonable doubt. I think what Wiener's doing here is trying to move it as a happy medium between those two to clear and convincing evidence.
Yes.
So,
and I would have liked that to begin with. Yes.
So yeah, this is a higher burden than a civil case, but a lower burden than a criminal case. So I think Gary's going towards the happy medium. I talked to him about this a few weeks ago, and I agree with his reasoning here. Is that yeah, people say that Title V, it is kind of like the criminal code we have in Masonry, but it's not a criminal like proceeding. You know, Masonry is more of like a property right. It's not. This is not. You're not being sent to jail. Like you're not losing your life or liberty. And we want the ability, if there's something that's going on, we have to get someone out. Yeah, we want to make sure that they're guilty, but we don't want to put that burden so far that we can't get anybody out. My personal opinion is that I'm fine with this. I like it. I know what he's trying to get at here. But when you look at a Masonic jury, I don't think they're going to be like looking at these different standards of proof and like,
Yeah.
they're going to be like, this guy's either guilty or innocent. I don't care if we phrase it like preponderance of the evidence or clear and convincing evidence. I just don't think in our context that's going to make much of a practical difference.
But I think this is fair because, once you put beyond a reasonable doubt, like you said, that's a pretty stiff regulation right there. So this is still a fraternity. It's still a membership. So with beyond a reasonable doubt, that can take away, the jury's option to say, well, this is something we're not okay with, even though it's not beyond a reasonable doubt, it's still not something that is in line with the tenets of Freemasonry. So that way, because then once you put beyond a reasonable doubt, then you've got to start listing out what even more laws on what is acceptable and unacceptable. And I just think it's a mess. I like this one.
Yeah, I think this one's fine. Again, I don't have strong feelings either way on this one, but I think this one's fine.
Yeah. Same thing. I'll take it or leave it. I won't cry if it didn't pass, but if it does, it's fine too. All right. Hold on. My phone thinks I tried to tell it to do something. What's it?
This one I am definitely opinionated on.
Yeah, this one's an interesting one.
Number 16.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure what they're trying to do with this one, honestly.
Look at what's going on here. So the one night that I say, show everybody's face, and now this is why we usually only show the speaker.
Yeah, that's why we usually do it at 9. Of course, they're still awake anyway. It's whatever. It's all right. We'll keep it in. It adds character to the.
That's right.
Adds personality.
Right. Yes.
Resolution 19, deferred adjudication.
Wait, I think we're on 16.
We're on 16. And let's be clear, he was not talking to his wife, he was talking to his kids. So yes, it's not as bad. Yes, it's not as bad.
All right. I missed this in my summary, but if I'm right, it basically says it makes changes so that you can vote on officers in EA fellowcrafts or masters lodges instead of just masters lodges.
That's the way it always was.
No, it's the opposite.
The way it was in the past, the way it is now, is that if you're having elections and there's EAs present, you got to have it in the EA lodge.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no EAs and no fellowcrafts, you can hold it in a master's lodge. What this is saying now is that even if you have EAs and fellowcrafts there, if the master wants to hold elections in a master's lodge, kick out all the EAs and fellowcrafts. That's the way I read it.
See, I thought you
That's
could
how
always
I
do that though.
that's
I
how
thought it
I
was
read
always
it,
at the master's discretion.
No,
and
no,
I
it says only if there are no EAs and fellowcrafts, then the master has discretion to open a master's lodge for elections.
Mm.
Um, I don't understand why you'd want to kick the EAs and fellowcrafts out of the election night.
well for let me give a scenario that people might appreciate, others may not, but some people are of the opinion that, you know, why don't we wait for fellowcrafts and entered apprentices to come into a lodge until after, you know, they become master masons? Give them some a good another carrot, another reason for you know getting their work done and pushing through, instead of, you know, feeling like they're entitled to all the rights, slights, and benefits, you know, right up front.
No, I get that. I get that completely. But elections to me, again, because lodges are lodges, but they're also like little corporations. And
Right.
having an election of your board of directors, like even though you're an EA or a fellowcraft, you don't have full voting rights yet. You're still a Mason. You're still a member of that lodge. You should be able to witness the
But
election
you're not
director.
vested. You're not
I
vested. So
I have two trains of thoughts on this. One one is most lodges in my day, you had to be a master mason before you could sit in a stated meeting of any sort.
look at this millennial
I
in
know,
my
right?
day.
So let me start with that. In my day, and I think there was value to that. I think there still is value to that. Now, most lodges push people so fast through all 3 degrees that, yeah, you should just wait till you're a master. Like, yeah, dude, you're gonna be a master in like 6 months in most lodges anyway. You could just hold your horses and just wait. But if it did have a lodge, if we were to develop this process of taking longer between degrees, yeah, maybe you would let them in because they're going to be an EA for a year or whatever. Yeah, let them in. So, all that just to say, it's however it goes,
Either way, whichever way the wind blows, that's
whichever way the
fine.
wind goes. But
That's kind of how I feel. It does.
But this is why this resolution confused me because it's not what the whereas clauses state. Like if that's where the drafter was going with this, they should have been like whereas like entered apprentices and fellowcraft should be encouraged to become master masons and shouldn't be sitting like that's not what these whereas clauses say at all. So I don't really understand the intent of this resolution or what it's trying to fix.
Well, now here's a scenario it could be fixing. So let's say you've got 3 master masons and you have 1 EA and you need to do your elections. You can't open an entered apprentice lodge with 3 master masons and 1 EA. Well, you shouldn't be having elections with three.
Yeah, that's true.
but but you know that's just a I, that's just a bad joke. I shouldn't have brought
Oh,
that up.
I'm going to put a pin in this resolution.
Right.
I don't fully understand what the intent was yet or why they're doing it. But I know the effect is that if there's EAs at your election night, you can kick them out.
Right. Yes.
so, admittedly, I don't have a summary for 17. Do either one of y'all want to kind
Yeah,
of
I
give
know.
your?
Maybe Dennis, what I wrote down on my notepad is that this is the resolution that has to do with the life program issue. What I wrote down here is that the way the current law is right now, if you have been a master of a different lodge and you're coming into another lodge, you're exempt from the requirements to comply with the life program for the 101, right?
Yes.
Um, and what this is saying that even if you've already served as a master, you have to go through the life program again. Again, whoever wrote this, if I am butchering this, I am sorry. It's been like we didn't have a lot of time to look at these, and they're not in front of me. But Dennis, am I correct on that?
Yes. And I agree with it, to be honest with you. But to each his own.
Yeah. But it also deletes attending a ritual forum hosted by the committee on work.
I think it says that's not enough. Like if you go and you
Yes, that's exactly.
that's
Yeah.
not enough. And again, as someone who is all of our lodges, I am not talking down to any lodge in Texas, but I think people can agree that we do have people sitting in the 3 chairs who again, do not know the things they're supposed to know under our rules. And again, if this resolution is trying to say, we don't care if you've served as a master before or attended a forum, we want you to go through this process and show us this stuff, man, I have no problem with that.
Are you suggesting because someone's
I
a
agree.
past master 20 years ago, they're not qualified to lead if they get in office today?
I'm just saying more education is never a bad thing for anybody.
I agree.
That's a
What
very good way to put it.
What's funny is that in at OSO we put it in our own bylaws that you have to be approved by the district instructor. You have to be approved by the lodge. You have to attend the forum and OLT
Yeah.
because we're paying for it. So
Yeah, you can tell when they
if
don't
we're
go to
paying
OLT.
for it, yeah, if we're paying for it, then they should be going. If they can't do that, then they don't have the time to be a master.
Okay. Are we ready
But
for
that's not what this law is. This law is just saying
ready for 18?
Yeah,
yes.
we're ready for 18.
This resolution proposes the complete deletion of Article 508, number 28, which currently makes it a Masonic disciplinary offense to solicit votes, campaign, or otherwise electioneer for any Masons in any assembly of Masons.
Where's Carlton? Why isn't he here to talk?
I know, because he put a lot of A's and B's in here. A's and B's and 1, 2, 3s.
I agree with this. Here's my 2 cents on this. People who have made themselves available are so scared to even talk about it, because anything can be electioneering to some people, in Masonry. I think what Carlton is getting at is we're not going full shrine where you can have posters up and be vote for X, but it's if you tell people you've made yourselves available, or if the lodge is discussing who the lodge is going to vote for at Grand Lodge, having that discussion is not going to be electioneering. However, I think what Carlton said is if you're promising someone something for voting for someone, if you're threatening them with something, that's still, you can't do that. And if you're in if you're in a meeting, I think this doesn't go very far. It's just yeah, you can say you made yourself available. And if the lodge is talking about who they're voting for, they can discuss that. But apart from that, again, I like this resolution. I do think we need to have some actual what constitutes electioneering and what you can and can't say, because right now anything can be interpreted as it.
Yeah, it's a gray area.
Well, I think though that's where he was trying to clear it up by saying you can't promise or entice a person or a lodge to vote for or against someone to their benefit. So that kind of clears it up for me. That's basically what he's saying is you can't entice them to do it by, let's say, I'm running for Grand Master. If I make it, we're going to bring this back to your lodge again. We're going to start, bringing the Grand Masters conference back to your lodge or something like that. Or
merge every lodge in the district with your lodge.
Or on the flip side, if I don't get it, I'm going to make sure that they make sure and take the Masters conference away from your lodge. That kind of thing. So. Yeah. He's trying. He defined it, but
they need to know who they're voting for.
They do.
The thing is, the way we have it now kind of chills the ability to figure out who you're voting. I'm not saying that people that made themselves available should go out and campaign like a politician does, but if they go to a lodge and say, "I've made myself available," for this position, the people in the lodge should be able to ask them questions like, "Well, what do you think about X? What do you think about Y?"
Yes.
Problem with that. That is a good thing. And that's why we've had a lot of forums this year, as far as I think we've had 3 or 4 more than we had last year, and I think that's a good thing. I mean, it's a pain in the butt to travel around, but I like it. It's very enjoyable, and I love answering questions. But I think we need more of that, because otherwise you're just voting for the person whose name you've heard more.
Yeah. Well, what I like about this, and it talks about, any Mason can tell you who they support as well without it being electioneering. But what I like about this in general is that back when Rayburn made himself available and he was against Moxley, we had both Rayburn and Moxley on at separate times and talked to them about, their Masonic experience, where they come from, the things they like, stuff like that. Get to know you sessions. Then fast forward, and then last year and the year before, we extended that offer out to all the people who made themselves available. And at first, there were several that said, "Sure, man, I'd love to come on." And then all of a sudden, there's this consensus of, "Oh, hell no, we can't get on there and electioneer." And it's like, well, son of a bitch, that just killed it for us. We were just trying to provide a service for the craft. We weren't even going to say who we were voting for personally.
Yeah.
We just wanted to interview it, do a forum online. Now,
but as it is right now, I see how that is a gray area. And you could like if someone wanted to come after you saying, well, you went on that show and you were electioneering, I see how there's
yeah,
could be a fear of that. This would
well,
take that
sure,
away.
yes,
Because like
yes,
has been like Robert pointed out, this is a multi-million-dollar corporation, organization, whatever you want to call it, and we need to know who we're electing for our leadership.
yes. It's foolish to give it to somebody that doesn't really have the ability.
Yep. All right, ready for 19?
Yep.
So I think we're all in agreement. This would be a good thing. For 18?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes,
Number 19, deferred adjudication. So this resolution amends Article 509 to address the status of a Mason granted deferred adjudication for a felony charge. Noting that deferred adjudication is not a final conviction, the resolution mandates that such a Mason shall be immediately suspended from every lodge for the term of the adjudication. If he successfully completes the term and his record is sealed or expunged, he may apply for reinstatement, which requires a 2/3 favorable ballot from each lodge.
I'm fine with this personally, because again, I think we've talked about this. There's been some deferred adjudication stuff in the past as well. But say you are charged with a felony. Like a lot of times, even if you're innocent or you could fight it, if they give you a deal, like a lot of people are going to take that deal instead of fighting it because the consequences are so dire. So if you complete deferred adjudication, like if you go through that process and the lodge wants to have you back in once you've completed it, I have no problem with that. Because again, the lodge knows you better than anyone else. And again, deferred adjudication to me, well, not even to me, it's not a conviction. And so again, I'd leave that to the lodge. Like if you go through that process and they vote you back in, I'm fine with that.
yep.
Yep.
I think that there just wasn't an avenue for it in the past, and this gives an avenue.
Agree.
And
It's trying to square it too with the whole thing. It's like, oh well, it's so interesting in masonry that if you've been convicted of a felony before you apply, the lodge can say, well, we're going to let you in because we know you. But like while you're a mason, this happens, and the lodge is like, well, you've done your penance, you did it, we know the whole situation, and we want you back in. There should be a mechanism for that.
yes, I agree.
All right, number 20 is Masonic funeral for suspended Masons. This resolution amends Article 360 to allow the Grand Master to grant the Worshipful Master discretion to permit a Masonic funeral for a suspended Mason. The change removes the current requirement that the decision be unanimous among the Master and Wardens of the Lodge.
See, I thought the purpose of this one was that if you are charged with a disciplinary violation, right, and you die before you're convicted or exonerated, you still can't have a Masonic funeral.
Right.
So I thought this was like, so say you are charged with something and you pass away, you still get a Masonic funeral because you were never convicted. You're innocent until proven guilty. And, Masonic funerals were a big deal. And so if you never got to stand in front of your accuser and prove that you're innocent and you lose your Masonic funeral simply because you were charged, like I get if that's what this resolution is trying to do. And Dennis, is that what you thought as well?
That's what I was thinking. I just want to make sure that it says that it's up to the master of the lodge, because yeah, it should definitely be up to the lodge. I mean,
Can you imagine the spite? Like, I can see that happening. Like, if you had someone that really hated someone else in lodge, I hope this doesn't happen. but to prevent them from getting a Masonic funeral, just bring them
Yes.
Yeah.
before they pass away.
Well, it's innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in favor of it. I think it'd be good. All right.
Well, actually, or prior to his death, actually, I don't think that does this. I think it needed to. I think they were intending for it to, but it didn't because they didn't put the line through a Masonic burial. So the way it read before, let me read this real quick. It may need to be amended to get the right intent. His standing will be a Mason laboring under Masonic disciplinary action, and until such Masonic disciplinary violations have been fully disposed of, he shall not be entitled to a demit, a certificate of withdrawal, or certificate of good standing. And then it lines through this part, but it still leaves in a Masonic burial. So it says they still can't have a Masonic burial. The only thing that they draw a line through is, or in the case of death prior to final conclusion of the disciplinary action. So I think they meant to take the line all the way through the Masonic burial. That was the intent of this. It probably needs to be amended.
Who was the sponsor of this?
It was
one?
Chris. We need to talk to him. Chris Moise. I don't know how to say
Moises?
his Greek name.
Yeah.
Moises.
Okay.
Yes, there you go.
We'll talk to Chris about this one.
Yeah, because I think that was their intent based off of the whereases, but it just didn't equate down with because they just drew a line through to X out. So
his son is being initiated on the 8th at Austin 12.
nice.
I'll be there.
Cool. Very nice. Number
Very
21. Cool. Looks like it's just trying to add the skull as an allowable symbol for the apron. Is that?
Yep, I'm
We're
behind
targeting?
that. It's saying that the Grand Master's already given the Grand Master's decisions. Let's just put it in the statute. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm saying here.
I don't know. I'm on the fence. If I offended anybody, let me be a little less offensive.
All right,
No,
let's move.
I agree.
Let's
You know what I'd like to say? I just want your opinion, and I don't. Before you move on, I just want your opinion on this deal, and I've been stuck on it for a while. Even last year, I was stuck on this. It says the apron may be lined on the reverse side with a blue satin or other material. To me, that reads that it has to be blue. Even if it's another material, it has to be blue. I would rather take the blue out of there and just have satin or other material because I think whatever the color of the appropriate apron is should be it. If you have a white apron, why do you want a blue back? I would want a white back. But anyways, that's just me. I may have to do that amendment someday or whatever.
Yeah, I could see that.
But I'm just curious. Is that how you read it, Robert? I mean,
that's how I think they're trying to avoid like a tie-dye back.
Right. Well, here's the wording that I was wanting. That makes sense. Here's the wording that I was thinking. Amend it to a color befitting its use. So
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, it just always bothered me that I have to have it blue, even though
it's the backside that nobody sees. I mean, honestly,
you're not helping yourself at all tonight. Moving on.
Number 22, lease approval for lodge real estate. This resolution amends Article 340 to require that no lodge shall enter into any lease, rental agreement, or similar arrangement for the use of lodge on rental property without first obtaining the written consent of the Grand Master. This purpose is to address a noticeable rise in problematic lease language that can negatively impact a lodge's ability to sell or control its property.
This is Chase. This is Baby Chase.
Baby Chase.
Yeah, he talked to me about this one. For those that don't know, Chase is a good friend of mine, and also, we work together outside of Masonry. But he's on the Civil Law Committee as well. One of the issues we've run into with the Civil Law Committee is that as of today, if your lodge is going to do a lease, not sell or mortgage or anything else to their property, just a lease, Civil Law and Grand Lodge don't have to approve that. We do have an approved form that we send out to people if they want to use it, but it's not required to get that blessed by Grand Lodge. And normally that's okay. but we've seen some leases that have been highly problematic for very long terms or to organizations that they shouldn't be leasing to that increase liability like quite exponentially. And in the last 5 years or so, we've seen more and more of these. This is not going to be popular at Grand Lodge, I will tell you that. Because to say to lodges, you can't even lease to anybody without civil law is already not liked very well. When lodges want to sell, they have to go through us. And, again, we have a reputation for being slow, which might be a little justified. But
I wouldn't say it's just y'all though. It's because of what you're dealing with people that are not following the rules, not getting attorneys that deal with real estate to do their stuff and
well, to be fair, there have been a few lodges that have done, I think, everything by the book that have still waited way too long for approval, and that's on us.
I know
And
they have in the past. Yeah, I wasn't
yeah,
sure about now.
that's being fixed. But I've just I have to agree with this one, just as wearing my civil law committee and lawyer hat, because we've seen a lot of stuff that is very bad on the lease side. But you listeners out there, if you don't like this, I understand why, and you can boo me when I speak for it at Grand Lodge.
Nice, nice. Well, I can tell you that I do agree with it as well, and it's because with commercial property, it's not the same as with residential property. So I own different properties that are my own, different houses and stuff, and I lease them out. If I want to sell them at any time, I can. I just got to give them 30 days notice, and I'm saying I'm selling it, and you have 30 days to leave. In with commercial, it's a whole different animal. You're talking about corporations renting your property, and if it's not like a small lease for let's say the Knights of Pythias or whatever, then it then it's and it's you're renting out your whole building to somebody, then yeah, that's a big deal. And it needs to be worded correctly. It needs to have that backup because that building is an asset of not only the lodge but of Grand Lodge, and Grand Lodge does not need to be held to the fire by some guy that was put into a 99-year lease from a lodge thinking that they would be for alive for the rest of their lives.
Agreed. Oh, go ahead.
No, if we're at a good transition point, and we don't have to if you don't want to. I did find something. I came across a comment on one of the resolutions we just talked about. I didn't know if you guys wanted to just let me read it and we'll address it.
Sure.
Your thoughts on it.
Mhm.
So this is for resolution 15. Brothers, please review the proposed resolutions for Grand Lodge. Number 15 needs to be soundly defeated. The current standard for conviction of Masonic charges is beyond a reasonable doubt, same as Texas criminal law. Number 15 would lower the standard to clear and convincing evidence. We should not be seeking an easier path to end one's Masonic career. The standard should remain the highest level possible in this land. Just y'all's thoughts.
This is why I'm ambivalent on this one, because yes, you're not going to jail if you are convicted of a Masonic disciplinary violation, but you could get kicked out of Freemasonry, which to many people that's a pretty bad thing. This is our criminal code basically, and instead of the death penalty, we give you exile, which is pretty bad. But here's the thing though, I just haven't seen any evidence that the heightened standard or the lower standard actually affects conviction rates in Masonic trials. I would have to take a look. We haven't done enough of them under the standard for me to go back and say, okay, how does the conviction rate now compare to the conviction rate, 5-10 years ago? So honestly, I don't know. I can't stand here and say that these, different standards actually have any effect on the rates of conviction in Masonic trials.
I kind of feel the same way. We just did this. We just put this new language in there last year or the year before, and we're already wanting to change it back again. I just or change it.
We put it in there for a reason.
Right. It was voted on.
Yeah.
And now we're wanting to go back and change it.
Yeah. Like
already.
I said, I just saw it, and I know we'd already talked about the resolution. I just wanted to hear y'all's thoughts
And that's a
on
very
that.
fair reason to not change it right away because we don't have data.
Yeah.
We at least need to see some data that gives a good reason for changing it.
That's a good point. All right, we're on 23, if I'm correct, right?
Yep.
Before we start, like I said, I would have normally looked this up, but we like really short notice here. Who are the Knights of Pythias? Is that a Masonic body or is it a non-Masonic organization? Why are
It's a
they?
non-Masonic organization that
Okay.
it was developed. It was actually developed in Washington D.C. Back when they were developing all kinds of different groups, and this was a specific one for different charitable things, and it's a higher honor to be a part of it. They wear
But is
they
it
wear
Masonic? Do you have to be a Mason to join?
no.
Okay.
They're just wanting to add them to the list of who can be rented to,
Yeah.
basically. So apparently these people have somebody that wants to rent their lodge and or they want to, rent out their Scottish rite or something. And they need to have the avenue to be able to do that.
I think one of the sponsors, if I saw it right, was Right Worshipful Dodson, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't care.
I really don't care. It's just another group to bring to a lodge to take people's money away from Blue Lodge.
Yeah, again, I
But
don't
who am
know.
I to say?
I know
Sounds
about
like you do care.
Knights of Pythias. Yeah, Dennis, I think you said probably more than I know about them. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean they're a pretty cool, noble group. I listened to a podcast on them probably I don't know 2-3 years ago, and it's a pretty cool group. But at the same time, it's like, golly. But if
I,
it brings in rent, then
Yeah.
man,
as long as it passes through Grand Lodge.
I like the idea of lodges being used for Masonic purposes, but we already have, and I'm gonna get some flack for this. We already have Eastern Star in most of these rooms. We already have people coming in for open installations and stuff. So it's not like it's a
Robert,
like
as your non-attorney, I'm advising you not to speak on what Justin is saying right now. Just leave it.
It's not the sacred space we make.
As your true and trusted friend, just do not listen to him. Shut
I
off your
love
video
all
and walk away
of our
slowly.
Masonic-
Sorry, I didn't mean to step on a lineman.
No. Because I agree. I mean, it's just another thing to take away from our time and money. But
because as soon as they start meeting in your lodge, they want you to join.
right. But is it something that is it something that's not accepted with other bodies? No, it's not. So might as well let them.
If the scouts want to meet in the front room,
If you're gonna let the Boy Scouts meet,
I'm fine with that. They're not going into the lodge room. It's not a competing organization. They're not going to say join the scouts to like a 50-year-old man. So it's not a competition.
Was that a year or two ago? How many people
yes.
speak on that damn resolution, man?
Oh my gosh.
On
And dressed up in
on.
scout uniforms.
Yeah.
I love the scouts, man. Don't get me wrong, but I was like, oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah, those uniforms don't age well on people, I don't think. But just my thoughts. All right. Now I'm really getting flack, aren't I?
Yes, you are. But there's a reason I don't wear shorts in public.
All right. Resolution 24, Grand Lodge Financial Records Digitization. This resolution amends Article 337 to explicitly allow the electronic digitization of all records belonging to consolidated and demised lodges.
I know. I think we hit that one. I think this one.
And we did hit that one. Where
What am I doing?
Coming from?
I was about to say that sounds like we just. Okay, I'm sorry. I guess I got it mixed up. All right. Oh, so this is about the Odd Fellows.
Yeah.
Basically the same thing, is it not? Them being allowed to. Same thing.
And I don't care.
Right.
I like the Odd Fellows. They're great. This is not one that I'm going to be sad either way.
Yeah, I already know probably 100 people that are going to join as soon as they hear this. They're just chomping at the bits. But for me, I don't care.
I'm odd enough. I don't need to be.
For y'all's listeners, whatever you want to do is fine with me on this one.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's nothing about any of these resolutions that really just kind of like stand out. Like, oh, we have to fight for this. This is the way we have to go. At least.
Yeah. If somebody thinks differently than me on any of these resolutions, I don't care because it's just not that.
We're not going to fight. It's fine.
I am not going to die on any of these hills.
If any of the sponsors are listening to this and I butchered one of your resolutions, like, yeah, I apologize.
The only one that might disappoint me
Blame the host because he was reading from AI.
Actually,
summaries.
Dennis introduced, so he's the host. I'm just the co-host. But the only one that might upset me is if I can't put a skull on my apron one day. That's the only thing that might disappoint me.
Yeah.
That would disappoint me, yes. But I wouldn't die on the hill with that one because eventually it'll come around. Just a little more time.
Yeah.
So you might as well just let it happen.
Yep.
Well, this one was pretty easy, guys. We had to have like 2 podcasts last year.
Yes,
last year was less resolutions and it took way more time. It was like 4 hours between all of us to go through it all.
I know.
This was like an hour and a half, maybe not even, maybe like an hour, 15 minutes. So,
well, that's why I had planned on, switching people out because, kind of like driving what is that, Formula One race, switching people out so that they could come in fresh and help out with the resolutions, but we won't need to this year. This has been a great show.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right. We want to say anything before we.
Yeah. Robert, you got any final remarks?
Oh, wait. There was one more thing. I don't know if you guys want me
to
go over this.
Let's go through. Yeah.
But if you keep scrolling down on the resolutions, there's statements of availability, and there's a guy that looks just like you, Robert, at the very top.
Ah, yes, that's right.
Are you
looking good, feeling good, man? I like that tux.
Looking sharp.
Wait, I see the picture they put of me. What picture did they put of me?
They have like a it's kind of weird. You got like this weird hat, and you're like doing like this weird. Yeah, no, it's a tuxedo shirt. You're in a tux. You're looking sharp.
Nice.
It's dressing appropriate.
It's not a college frat shirt or anything.
Well, I have made myself available. It's been a lot of fun this year. Actually, I've enjoyed myself. We don't have much time left, but I'll be trying to see as many people as I can, and I'm looking forward to Grand Lodge. I mean, my final thoughts are, again, if you're able to get to Grand Lodge, and you haven't been there before, it is a lot of fun. I've been going for, man, I can't remember how long, but we have a blast every time we go. I wish Carlton was here to talk up his hospitality suite, but
right.
It gets better every year. I mean, it's a good time.
For sure.
It's very hospitable.
Dennis, are you having your?
Yes, we are having our Masonic Improvement dinner on Thursday. So what we're recommending to everybody is to go to the hospitality suite at 5, and then if you did get an invitation to the Masonic Improvement dinner, because it is an inner circle dinner, then you just mosey on over across the street from the hospitality suite to the dinner and enjoy our bar that's in our room. It's our resolution number 9 bar from several years ago. But they bring it in every year for us when they host our event. They bring the bar into the room for us, and yes, it's a great dinner discussion. And
I apologize because I zoned out, but you did say that our bar is invitation only, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, our bar is part of our Masonic Improvement Inner Circle dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so that people don't have to go to the main bar. We have our own entry to our own hall, and we even have our own hallway to the bathroom. Nobody will know you're there.
If you want to be part of the inner circle, how is that done, Dennis?
For one time, no, just kidding. Actually, that is a good question, because I've had so many people that just subscribe and they say, "Oh, I'm a part of the inner circle." Well, actually, the inner circle is actually our monetary contributors to the show, and so for like $2 a month, you get no ads. You get to be part of our book club, which right now we're studying Esoterica, and yes, it's a good one. It's my favorite. And then beyond that, we have our private discussions with our inner circle members and stuff like that the public never get to see. So there's a lot of different benefits, and then like this show and other things that we do. So I appreciate you asking, Robert.
Not a problem. I like setting you up for that.
Yeah. You did a great job.
So next we have George Duke Moxley. And we interviewed him years ago when it was Rayburn's year. So we have file on him if you want to look at that. we've got Robert several times because he's been our friend for a long time, and he's just been a part of the show on many occasions. So there's plenty of videos on him, and then we've got the one on George as well. We really like George. He's a good guy. I don't know many people as nice as George. So he's on there as well. He's made himself available, as well as Brother John Wilkerson. So basically, you have one guy that's from San Antonio, one guy from Austin, and one guy from North Texas. And John's a nice guy. He has made himself available. This is his second time, I think, that he's made himself available. But the first time was a couple of years ago. It hadn't been consecutive. But then I just got to get to this guy. This guy. Oh, not that guy. So Committee on Work is, I feel so bad. Committee on Work is the only person who made themselves available is Kevin Moss. I don't know Kevin very well. And I say that because it's Committee on Work. I'm the philosophy guy. I'm not the Committee on Work guy. But Kevin has made himself available. So unless somebody comes up from the floor, then he should have a pretty easy job of getting there. And then my good bud Walter Dave McCam. We call him Super Dave because he always takes good care of us at Grand Lodge. But he has made himself available for the Library and Museum Board of Directors. Being that he's there all the time and he lives in town, that's probably
works out well.
But anyways, yeah, beyond that.
Aren't you forgetting someone else, though?
No, that's it. Oh, well, Bradley Kohanke has made himself. Well, he's
wow. Isn't he your mentor?
He is one of them. He is one of them.
Every time we hear his name, he was my mentor. Well,
I'm trying to
drop the ball on your mentor.
I'm trying to think of the words, and they left him out of here. I'm gonna have to say something. I'm trying to think of the words. It's He's been on the committee for the Masonic Charities Foundation for quite some time, and they've done a lot of good work on converting some investments and stuff like that. And he would like to help continue working on that. Right now, he's running unopposed, and so yeah, he is my mentor, and I believe in him. I think he does a great job. I've seen him at work in many different facets, and he right now he's unopposed. So Brad's I say great. Vote for Pedro.
Kohanke's great.
Yep.
Yes, he is. Which, speaking of, him and Chris now have the new podcast, The Masonic Shelf. If you guys want to go out there and
on
yes,
a week or so ago, it hasn't come out yet, and I'm worried. We'll see how that one turns out. I think the book I selected was probably not the best choice. Well, we'll see.
Oh, I can't wait. The thing is, I haven't selected my book. They asked me as well, but I haven't selected my book yet. I'm having a hard time deciding. I may have to do Esoterica because it's really one of my favorites.
Yeah, it is. It's very good.
But other than that, Robert, give us your final thoughts.
Well, my final thoughts is just I want to thank you all for having me on. This was a lot of fun. And to everyone out there, I will see you at Grand Lodge. Please come if you are able.
Yes, for sure.
It'll be good. I'll just say thanks for coming on, Robert. It's always good to see you and to talk to you and just go over these with you. And like I said, like you just said, I'll be seeing you in January, and I'm looking forward to hopefully hanging out with you a little bit.
Same here.
Yeah, I agree. And I thank you as well. I always feel safe when Robert's around because I know that, if I do something overboard, he's going to say, hey, you need to cut that part out. You need to edit this as your friend and not your attorney, but could be if it goes south, I may have to be, but we're going to keep you from doing that. No, just kidding. But yeah, we love you here, and we're glad you came on. I always like having your perspective because you do know, you look for the intent of the law and not just what the words say, and that's what's important. Is always knowing that we know the intent of the law.
Agreed.
other than that, thank you, brothers, for sharing, listening to us on your drive to Grand Lodge, or probably before, the way people chomp at the bits for these
This will be out
things.
fast.
Yeah,
Come out fast. Probably
yeah,
this
we
week.
don't have a lot of editing here on this one, except for yelling at your. If you guys
I was
missed
going to
it,
leave it. It built
if
character.
you guys missed it, make sure and wait. Now, I don't care if you do. It's not like anybody heard you.
No, I muted it before I started.
We've all had that moment. Oh, I know you're. We've all had that moment of clarity with our children.
Yes.
All right.
All right, y'all take care.
You
Keep it
too.
between the
Thanks.
points.